What if there was a place you could go to explore your spirituality without being told what you have to believe? No fear, no spiritual policing, no pressure to conform or pretend. Imagine Hogwarts, but instead of teaching magic, it's for exploring faith, going through deconstruction and reconstruction alongside others in community. Instead of learning spells, it's about experiencing personal transformation. A giant castle-like campus set in a lush, immersive world where people are free to journey solo or connect with others. It's warm, inviting, peaceful, musical, and this world respects the player's autonomy as they journey. A place built for curiosity, healing, growth, and fun. Take classes with other students. Explore and interact with the 3D world. Find hidden passageways to secret places. Go on quests. Enter the cave of deconstruction to walk difficult paths others have walked before you. That's the vision I want to share with you today. The core concept, the university. What I want to create is a spiritual university of sorts, a living, explorable campus and its surrounding world where people can learn, question, and grow, transformed by experiencing different ways of understanding the world around us. When you enter this university, you join a house. But these houses aren't based on personality traits alone. They're based on how you discern the different lenses people use to interpret life, faith, meaning, and truth. The 5 core houses. Each house represents a primary way people discern truth, meaning, and spiritual direction. None of them are purely good or purely harmful. Each carries wisdom, and each carries shadow. In every house, we will explore both the benefits and the potential harms of that ideology when taken to extremes. Here are the 5 houses. Varoth, the stag. Truth through tradition. Welcome to Varoth, symbolized by the stag. Steady, rooted, protective of inherited ground. This house centers on truth as it has been commonly understood within much of Christian tradition. The good, a noble desire to seek and preserve truth. Respect for historical wisdom and collective insight. Structure, order, and guiding principles that create stability. Moral clarity and continuity across generations. Tradition can anchor us. It reminds us that we are not the first to wrestle with life's deepest questions. The shadow. Enforcing truth through power, hierarchy, or control, rigid dogma that leaves no room for growth, the order of creation framework that places men over women, tribalism, exclusion, or cult-like environments, becoming spiritually stagnant through certainty. When we assume we already possess absolute truth and refuse to re-examine it, growth becomes nearly impossible. Certainty can become a cage. Brightwit, the fox. Truth through the mind. Do you discern truth by examining evidence, studying widely, and weighing all available data? Welcome to Brightwit, symbolized by the discerning fox. This house centers on the intellect, reason, analysis, and critical thinking. The good. Openness to new information. Commitment to evidence and intellectual honesty. Curiosity and lifelong learning. The ability to revise beliefs when confronted with new data. Objectivity and analytical clarity. Brightwit keeps us from blind acceptance. It sharpens our thinking and protects us from manipulation. The shadow. Dismissing lived experiences that cannot be quantified. Reducing life to cold, hard facts. Endless deconstruction and reconstruction. Analysis paralysis. Studying without ever resting. Intellectual pride or detachment. When the mind rules alone, it can become disconnected from the human experience it seeks to understand. Bellrise, the body. Truth through practice and participation. Is your faith shaped by sacraments, daily disciplines, embodied practices, and communal life? Welcome to Bellrise. Now, I haven't chosen an animal for this one, so leave your suggestions below in the comments. This house centers on the body, how we live, move, gather, and practice our faith in the physical world. This includes both personal spiritual disciplines and participation in community and shared rituals. The good. Spiritual discipline builds consistency and resilience. Practices create rhythm and grounding. Community fosters belonging, accountability, and encouragement. Embodied faith integrates belief with action. Bellrise reminds us that spirituality is not just something we think, it's something that we live. But here's the shadow. Performing endless religious rituals without inner transformation, measuring spirituality by visible participation, losing individuality in group conformity, placing too much trust in leaders or communities, substituting activity for authentic growth. Without reflection, practice can become performance. Hearthward, the dove, truth through love. Do you discern what is right and wrong primarily through the lens of love? Welcome to Hearthward, symbolized by the dove. This house centers on the heart, compassion, empathy, and relational connection. The good embodies Jesus' central teaching, love God and love others, prioritizes mercy, kindness, and reconciliation, creates emotional safety and deep belonging, encourages freedom from rigid legalism. Love can be profoundly healing. It softens what fear hardens. But here's the shadow. Avoiding necessary conflict in the name of being loving, neglecting boundaries that protect your well-being, suppressing anger or grief instead of processing it, emotional burnout from overextending yourself, and tolerating abuse under the guise of grace. Love without boundaries can become self-erasure. Deep wake, the whale, truth through the soul and spirit. Do you rely on wisdom gained through life experience, intuition, or what you perceive as guidance from God or the Holy Spirit? Welcome to Deep Wake, symbolized by the whale, ancient, deep diving, attuned to unseen currents. This house centers on the soul and spiritual discernment. The good, integrating life experience into mature wisdom. Developing deep self-awareness, trusting intuition shaped by growth and reflection, seeking communion with the Spirit, living from internal conviction rather than external pressure. Deep Wake honors the depth dimension of human being, the unseen, the intuitive, the transcendent. But here's the shadow. Becoming ungrounded or disconnected from reality, attributing personal desires or impulses to God, spiritual superiority, God told me, isolation from correction or community, mysticism without accountability. Without grounding, spiritual discernment can drift into self-deception. Here's the larger vision. No one house is complete on its own. Veroth guards stability, Brightwit sharpens clarity, Bellrise grounds practice, Hearthward softens with love, Deep Wake deepens the soul. The goal is not to be in any house, but to recognize where we naturally lean, where we may be imbalanced, and how the others can refine us. Integration is maturity. You may begin in the house that feels most natural and comfortable, but you don't stay in one house forever. Each house is meant to be a chapter, not an identity, and each chapter is meant to challenge us and bring us greater spiritual balance. The goal of Spiritual University is to help you become more whole, more self-aware, and more open to ideas you may have been taught to fear. And ideally, after visiting all the houses, you will now have a variety of helpful tools at your disposal to navigate life and faith. And wherever you are, or whatever you're going through in life, houses can be revisited. And eventually, new classes may be added for those who revisit, adding another layer of depth and reason to revisit. Why houses and why movement to different houses matter. Most belief systems fail us when they trap us, when they say, this is who you are, this is the only way, and if you question this, you're in danger. This university is built on the opposite idea, that growth happens when we're allowed to explore and change, when we can step into a perspective, learn from it, and then step out again. Because wisdom doesn't come from staying comfortable. It's gained through new experiences that challenge us. And we learn how to think, not just information. So why am I doing this? In a nutshell, history has led us to a very narrow set of Christian belief and a way of doing things. Before the 4th century, when the Bible was canonized, orthodoxy was decided, and heresies became a thing, before all that, Christian ideas and beliefs were wide and diverse. And the way they did church was vastly different compared to now. I want to revitalize some of that original diversity of thought and freedom in Christian culture. And I want to revitalize love, reason, critical thinking, imagination, nuance, and curiosity so that Christian culture can move away from its ultimate reliance on rigid certainty, absolute dogma, endless rituals, absolute obedience, dualistic or black and white thinking, and its emphasis on judgment and fear to compel people into conversion. This world is an attempt to create something healthier and with levels of depth and nuance that are missing in the typical church. For a long time, I thought about starting a new church, but I have seen the toll on pastors, the amount of work it is to shepherd even a small flock, to truly care for them. I can only do so much as one person, but if I can build an educational framework in this 3D world and start to cultivate a different kind of culture, a church or even multiple churches can naturally grow out of that. Another reason I'm making this is to help people break free from relying on pastors to feed them forever. In the Bible, Paul taught that believers were all supposed to grow into teachers at some point. They weren't meant to keep people in a state of needing to be spoon-fed, of needing to be led by others. This is a platform designed to help people learn how to explore their own spirituality, grow in personal transformation, and find their own way, and to experience how to function in a spiritual community that is not held together by hierarchy or dominated by power. And the idea is for people to take what they learn and hopefully start new things, whether that is within the platform or outside of it. Let's talk about the culture for a moment. The culture of spiritual university is guided by its code of conduct, and that code of conduct centers around the well-being of the people as opposed to rightness or a statement of faith. There will be certain rules, no fear-mongering such as, you're going to hell if you don't repent of your ideas and believe my view. No authoritarian tactics or gender hierarchy or any kind of hierarchy at all for that matter. I thought a lot about what it means to have freedom. Everyone is free to hold the views that they want, but they are not allowed to cause others harm. In order to keep this a safe place for people healing from trauma and to protect others from being spiritually bullied, the code is meant to keep the community safe for everyone. I plan to keep the social aspect of the platform very limited in the beginning until we have the moderation in place to make sure we can keep it safe. Also, in building this spiritual university, I can bring on different teachers with differing perspectives to teach classes and optional additional courses. One thing I think is very important is for the instructors to clarify, this is what I believe and why, and lay out their evidence and explanation rather than this is the right way, do it like this. I'm creating a community where the individual is trusted to take their own journey and make their own choices rather than be spoken down to. The only thing asked of them is to give others around them that same respect. So, why create a 3D world centered on experience? Because I've learned something important the hard way. Information alone doesn't usually change people. You can give someone all the facts in the world, but most people don't start questioning their beliefs because of information. They start questioning because of life, a tragedy, a loss, abuse, burnout, hitting rock bottom. A moment where what they were taught no longer works or no longer makes sense. Those moments can't be controlled, but what can be built is a place that's ready when they arrive. So you might be asking, who is this for? I'm building this university for people who are already deconstructing and or reconstructing, people quietly questioning their faith or just some of the doctrines they hold, such as complementarianism, people who feel spiritually curious, people who've been hurt, shamed, or abused by religious systems and need a safe place, people who want spirituality without control, fear, or manipulation, people who have left the church but miss community or some other aspect of spirituality. It's for those who don't want to be told what to believe, but want the freedom to discover what's true for themselves. It's for people who want to experience spirituality without being pressured to do or be anything. This is not a space for proselytizing or seeking to convert. It is very, very important to me that I create a space that has no agenda for individuals to adopt certain beliefs. As soon as there is an agenda to adopt certain beliefs, it becomes coercive. The only agenda here is to give people a framework that helps them obtain spiritual freedom and autonomy. Whether that is embracing faith or not is actually not the point. If someone goes through this university and ends up saying, yeah, I'm done with Christianity, I don't see that as a failure. I see that as someone, after looking at all the information, being genuine about where they stand, being honest. No one can force faith. We have to respect people's autonomy and people's choices. Many people leave church because they feel coerced. It's literally the coercion that often pushes people away. I believe in letting people exist where they are without judgment. It's from this heart that I am building this. What makes this space different? This isn't about replacing one rigid belief system with another. It's about creating a safe environment where curiosity is encouraged, doubt isn't punished, exploration is central, and faith exists without the constricting walls typically found in churches. No one is policing your thoughts. No one is grading your faith. No one is threatening you with consequences for asking the wrong questions. Instead, you're invited to explore, how do different ideas shape people in faith? How do they affect empathy, power, fear, love, and identity? What happens when a belief system is taken to the extreme? And maybe, through that process, my hope is that people might begin to develop their own discernment instead of just listening to what other people have told them to believe. So what's the deeper aim? If this works the way I hope it will, people will think more independently, reclaim ownership of their beliefs, and find identity in other ways besides their doctrines. Also, this is my creative attempt to reshape a Christian culture that seems more and more insistent on forcing people into obedience rather than allowing people to make their own choices. It is my hope that this place I create will help people to feel the difference as they experience the world. Some things cannot be described with words and logic. They can only be felt, seen, and experienced. It's also my hope to show people the way Jesus is written. Because today, what is often highlighted is power, authority, rule, and the destruction of anyone who doesn't obey God. Very seldom are we seeing the servant who humbled himself, the gentle, the meek Jesus, who told us to love our enemies. For those who have been silenced, this is a place where your voice matters again. For those who have been labeled as too feeling, this is a place where your intuition isn't treated as dangerous. For those who have been spiritually abused, this is a place where your worth isn't tied to obedience. A place that serves as a helper to the seeker who is a gentle and thoughtful guide for the deconstructing, reconstructing person. I had to go through the worst of deconstruction all by myself, whereas others in this world I create won't have to walk alone. This is still a vision in progress, a world I'm actively working to bring to life. But I believe we desperately need a place like this, especially right now. A space that doesn't demand certainty, a space that doesn't weaponize faith, a space that helps people grow instead of shrink. If this idea resonates with you, if you wish something like this existed, you're probably exactly who this is for. And this is only the beginning.